Alright everyone, I'm proud to present to you this game which I had with one of my fellow viewers. So I sound like I'm beating a dead horse right here, but if you want to have a game against me, I'm more than open for it. Just drop me a comment in the YouTube section or friend me on Octagon, hit me up with a private message and we'll get going. So, on to this game. I'm playing Blue Sun against his Kate. This opening hand initially seems marginal. There's a hedge fund, good money, and one opening ice, which is good. But that's about it. However, what makes this hand so good are the other reasons. Firstly, there are no agendas. This means that I can afford to not protect HQ, especially since that it's not a criminal that I'm facing against. I can afford to put the data pike on R&D, leave HQ wide open, and yeah, I won't be punished for that. Secondly, it has a Scorched Earth, so I can combo out if necessary, if I draw into the correct cards or if I score an Atlas. So my first turn consists of hedge fund, install data pipe, and because I had nothing else to do with my third click, I installed the Janus over HQ instead, preparing for the event where I draw into my oversight AI. On my second turn, I scored a hostile takeover, which I drew. On the same second turn, my opponent ran my R&D, and he got taxed for 1 credit because of the data pike. Alright, so now I actually do find my oversight AI, so this is where the pre-installation of Janus comes into play. This was very important. I was able to protect the Janus with a Grim before oversighting it. This is huge because I'm up against a Shaper. He might have a Deus Ex in hand. Him paying 3 credits to deny me 15 credits, that is huge. That I'm able to prevent him from doing so. So if he ran with an SMC or Deus Ex on board, I would have trashed his Grim. Trash his program with Grim, and I would be able to bounce the Janus back. Alright, on my next turn, I decided to draw and begin installing something, make it seem like I'm installing an Atlas. Hopefully he'll go check it, in which case I can tax him for a lot of credits. And give him a nasty surprise because the Janus is now on the remote. Yep, the Janus was bounced off from HQ into the remote, and now that he knows that I'm running Janus, he has to be worried about running every single face down ice that is on the board. So that's my first priority as well, to make R&D scarier. In the meantime, he draws up. He does not challenge my remote, it seems, which I think is a wise choice because he probably figured it's a Janus. So I did the right thing here. I bounced Elizabeth Mills back to my hand. I didn't lose any credits, but I lost 1 back pub. So that was pretty huge. Following that, Hadrian's Wall went on R&D. It's a very taxing piece of ice for most of Shaper's rigs, so this should stop me from bleeding any agendas from R&D. Until now, I haven't really seen too many agendas, which is very good. Only 2 agendas. That's before shuffling with Jackson for that matter. But one of them just got stolen because he ran my HQ. It was porous, and he did the right thing here. After losing his Zoo Keymaster, he proceeded to legwork me, and I was very thankful that he did not access the Elizabeth Mills. I was fine with losing both agendas. Blue Sun isn't that good early game. I need some time to stabilize. The most important thing is that I have 1 more Lizzie Mills left because that will allow me to clear the back pub. Yes, and now this is quite important. I drew into my second Janus. So he thinks that the Janus is on the remote, which it is, but what he doesn't know is that there's another Janus waiting for him. And here, once again, I bait him to running my remote by installing the second copy of Lizzie Mills in there. I want to get rid of the bad pub. Remember that Grim raising it gives me a bad pub. I want to avoid that. And yes, I can pretty much, at this point I've stabilized. I have a good pool of credits. I've cleared my bad pub. If I draw into agendas, I'll just chuck them in the remote. He can't contest it. It's a data pike into a Janus. So yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to do. So because of that, I can leave my HQ wide open. In the meantime, I continue playing shell games. This is what I intend to do for the rest of the game. Is it Lizzie Mills? You have to check it, because once you stop checking it, it will turn into an Atlas every single time. And you don't want me to score 3 Atlases in a row just because you didn't bother to contest the remote. But he did the right thing here. He knew that wasn't an Atlas. Or rather, he figured that he could let me get an unadvanced Atlas off, so that's fine. Instead, he went on to solidify his economy, which I must admit is pretty dang strong. He has all 3 prepaid voice pads out. He played lots of Lucky Finds and Show Gambles. He has a good amount of credits. He doesn't need to have more credits than me because he has a +3 out, so He doesn't have to worry about flatlining so long as he has at least 4 cards in hand by the end of every turn. Meanwhile, he charges up his Data Sucker with the Dirty Laundry, which is very efficient for him. I'm not too worried about Data Sucker at this point because, well, all my cards are so high strength, all my eyes. I finally draw into my first Atlas, and yes, I know he's not going to face check it, so I'm just going to chuck the Atlas there. He has to check it sooner or later. And clearly, oh, okay, now he brings his Barrier Breaker out and goes for my R&D. I show him the bad news, the Janus, and that stops him dead cold. But what's he gonna do here? Yep, he was right. The Janus was on the remote that he never checked. But I drew it to my second Janus, and he did not take that into account. So now he has 21 credits. That's a lot of credits. He has to do something about it. It became very apparent that he doesn't run Deus Ex because it's a no-brainer. Right now, what he needs to do is to tutor his Deus Ex and break through. So, instead of using Deus Ex, he's thinking of another solution. I'm thinking he's probably going to bring out his Femme Fatale and do a one-time Femme on the Janus just to avoid the brain damage. Which would be nice because this also gives him his Sentry Breaker, which will allow him to get past Grim if he needs to, and with the help of some Data Sucker tokens, can get past the rest of the Sentries. Archives is still unguarded, that's a problem. Giving him 3 Data Sucker tokens could lead to my demise. So, he finally begins to tutor something out, and it turns out to be an Upman. Upman, huh? A 7 strength Upman. Wow. That is desperation right there. That is crazy, crazy stuff. I was laughing. Yeah, this is hilarious. Where else will you ever see a 7 strength Upman? Then I realized that my inner R&D ice was a Hadrian's Wall with exactly 7 strength. So there was no point in raising it that turn. It wouldn't have taxed him enough. So instead, I put the Grim on R&D, and he probably knows this because that's the card he accessed from R&D. So he knows not to run it because he does not want his 7 strength Upman trash. That took a lot of credits to install. He's down to 5 credits. Pretty poor, but easily recoverable with 3 prepaid voice pads. See, 1 Show Gamble, 1 Dirty Laundry, and it's up to 15 credits. That is the power of prepaid economy. I can't really match that. So instead, I went to advance my Atlas. Hopefully, an advanced Atlas will give me the window I need to advance in the game. But he ran on his last click, denying me the Atlas. I realized I couldn't really keep him out. First thing I did was to rest the Caduceus, and then after doing some calculations, I realized that, I made a pretty huge mistake here. What I wanted to do was to res the Data Pike and the Janus, and I put just enough credits in the trace such that, I could res the next 2 pieces of ice. But what I didn't take into account is that had I boosted the trace of Caduceus a lot more, he wouldn't have been able to get in because he had no Sentry Breakers out. I should have boosted the Caduceus high enough such that he wouldn't get in. Then I could score my Atlas. That was a big mistake for me. Because now I res both the Data Pike and the Janus, and he's easily able to get through because of his Armament 7. And this is where he realized that I have 2 Januses all along. So yes, having 2 Januses in your deck pays off, but unfortunately for me here, I'm now on the back foot. I am losing horribly. My Januses are now he can slice through my Januses like Swiss cheese, and he has 6 agenda points. 1 more agenda and I'm out of the game. This is horrible. I really should have prevented him from getting that agenda because had I scored it next turn, it would have been 3 to 4 agenda points. Instead, it's now 6 to 1. And he's only going to get more powerful from here on out because he still has a clone chip and he has prepaid economy. So yeah, I'm in a lot of trouble. The next turn, I spend the following turn power drawing with Jackson Howard in the hopes of finding some way to defend myself, gain more money, anything to stop his onslaught. So yes, my priority right here was to ice out R&D, knowing that 1 more run through R&D will do me in. So yes, I'm basically put Grasping at Strings right here. This is a terrible place to be for Blue Sun, when your opponent is actually able to break through all your big eyes with ease thanks to Artman. So yeah, that's a blind spot I didn't really realize of regarding my deck. Janus, Hadrian's Wall, and Curtain Wall all die to an Artman 7 pretty easily with the right number of Data Circle tokens. So the first thing I realized here was that I needed to get lots of ice up. But first, I noticed he had only 2 credits to his name, and he made a Randa's turn. I know he has 5 cards in hand and a plus crit out, but I went through with the Seesaw Scorched Earth anyway. This is a very good opportunity when the runner has so few credits, so I didn't really need to put much into the trace. I just enough credits to make sure that he cannot beat the trace, which cost me only 2 credits, very cheap. And then I threw the Scorched Earth. Here, he made a very crucial error. He sacked his plus crit instead of taking the 4 meat damage to his grip. This is a mistake because, yes, you want to force me to use as many Scorched Earths as I can before losing a plus crit. Because now he's without a plus crit. The next time he makes a successful run and I have a Seesaw in hand, he is screwed. So yeah, he had to force me to use 2 Scorched Earths there, but since I got away with only using 1 to burn his entire plus crit, yeah, I got away cheaply. So yeah, now I have an alternate win condition that I'm working towards. Getting more credits than him and flatlining him. Later on, when the game was over, he told me that the reason why he sacked the plus crit immediately was because he had Levi AR Lab access in hand and couldn't afford to lose it, which was a reasonable, which was rather reasonable, I suppose. But I already used quite a few Jacksons this game, so I think it would still have been better for him to hold on to the cards in his hand. Anyway, it doesn't matter in which order he does it, because if I double Scorch him anyway, he's going to lose 4 cards from his hand no matter what. So it might as well force me to use both Scorched Earths. Okay, enough rambling on about it. He found his same old thing anyway, so yeah, that's the other thing. If my Scorched Earth hit his Levi AR, he should have known that he has same old thing in his remaining to recycle the Levi. But that's not important now. The important thing is that I need to continue surviving. He has recovered from his 2 credits and is now at a healthy credit level and can easily run to my HQ, R&D without too much worry. My HQ is free of agendas, which is fine, but I definitely need to defend R&D more. Now, right now I'm thinking the best way to defend R&D is actually to advance the Hadrian's Wall. Grim is a pretty good defense. He does not have any proper sentry breaker, and his armor 7 is too high. So thank goodness for me. What I'm worried about is that he's making Swiss cheese out of my Janus, which is the outermost piece of ice on R&D, I believe, and Hadrian's Wall. So advancing Hadrian's Wall past his Data Sucker number will keep him out of my server, or at least force him to use his snowball. If he's forced to use snowball, he'll lose a lot of credits and I can Seesaw Scorch him down. But first I need to find the Seesaws. In the meantime, he challenges my remote, which only contains an Elizabeth Mills. This is the power of the Blue Sun Glacier archetype. Forcing the runner to spend so many credits running through your remotes fruitlessly, that is fantastic. I clear 1 bad part with the Lizzie Mills before he trashes it. So while he doesn't need to worry about Lizzie Mills anymore, he got sufficiently taxed, so that should slow him down. Slow his assault into my R&D. So now at this point, there's no point in holding on to the remote. I'm actually quite poor now because I spent a lot of credits on fruitlessly advancing the Atlas, installing new eyes, etc. So thankfully the Oversight AI came at just the right time. I was able to res a Curtain Wall with it, and now, yeah, I look set to gain 14 more credits, which is pretty huge. I need to activate that Seesaws, and I can only do that by having more credits than him. Unfortunately, he has other plans in mind. He installed a new Data Sucker, ran my archive, so now he has 3 Sucker tokens. With an Artman 7, I didn't see this coming. I thought he would have to use his snowball to break the Curtain Wall, which would have been terribly expensive. But instead, With an Artman 7, all he needs is 3 credits. What a waste. Oh, and the worst thing is my curtain wall is now gone. I really needed a big ice to protect me. The Caduceus and the Ice Wall in my hand are all dead cards right now because he has Mimic and Snowball respectively to deal with it. Yeah, these are meant as early game ice to protect me early game. They are pretty useless by this point, and I'll be looking to trash them. So I draw into a Jackson Howard. Not really keen on using it right now. But I look at my R&D. I guess I can hold out for one more turn because he only has 8 credits. And one very interesting thing here to note is that he actually used all his Data Sucker tokens in his quest to deny me that curtain wall, Oversight AI curtain wall. So I did use my Jackson in the end, and I drew into my Seesaws. Until this point, I actually been planning to Virus Purge him, and yeah, once I successfully Virus Purge him, he cannot afford to run any of my central servers. He cannot run through Grim safely without a sharpshooter, which he has in his heap. That would have been a smart thing to do. He definitely cannot run R&D. And what he doesn't know is that there is a Janus on Archives. He ran there third click without any sucker tokens. So I caught him off guard here. He definitely didn't see this coming. And that was a huge turn in the game. He thought he could get free Data Sucker tokens because I hadn't been rezzing that Janus the whole game. But now that he cannot break it through with his Artman 7, he's forced to take 3 brain damage in exchange for the sucker tokens. This was the turning point. With his last click, he should have ran on R&D. Oh no, he had no more last click. Yes, he spent 1 click to break through the Janus, and I probably Seesaw Scotch him down. Because I was able to pawn the Janus for money, and then he had no plus crit left, and he took way too much brain damage. Wow. Yeah, I clearly didn't deserve to win that game. I was very lucky because I didn't get agenda flooded, and he was able to get through my servers every single time. I made a huge mistake in the mid game, and that was advancing the Atlas unnecessarily. I should have just scored it outright for the 2 agenda points. At that point, there was no need to fish anything from my R&D. Advancing it only gave it away that it was an agenda and baited him into running it, which swung the agenda point lead heavily in his favor. Yeah, but thankfully I managed to catch him off guard when he was low on Data Sucker tokens. It was just only a matter of time, honestly, because I was definitely looking to Virus Purge him sooner or later when I had enough ice on the board. But he did himself in by using Parasite to break down my ice, and then, or rather using Data Sucker to break down my ice. So yeah, he basically helped me in that respect. But this was a very tough game, and I am reminded that Shapers can still easily break through my servers if I'm not careful. He didn't have a Deus Ex, but he had so many solutions. That Artman 7 was a work of genius. I wouldn't have thought of it myself, but it was incredibly effective against my deck. It nullified my Hadrian's Wall, my Januses, and it made Curtain Wall easy to break. So yeah, I was pretty screwed because I never saw my toll booth, which was strength 5. So that's it. Thanks for watching Happy Net Running. Goodbye.